hashtag where is Kate or where is Kate Middleton is stupid. We know exactly where Catherine is. She is most likely right now on the Windsor estate in their Adelaide cottage recovering from abdominal surgery. But apparently, despite numerous statements from Kensington Palace and an actual timeline of her recovery, which stated in January that she would not be available for public engagements until after Easter, everybody in the world is wondering, where is Kate Middleton? Well, I'm here to tell you guys that this is stupid. This whole scenario, all the controversy and everything is just plainly stupid. We know exactly where Catherine is. We know exactly what happened. So I don't understand quite what the mystery is. However, some people have really taken this too far, and there's some very, very nasty, ugly, vile, deplorable things that some people are saying in relation to the death of Thomas Kingston, who was married to Lady Gabriella Windsor, who was a cousin or sort of second and third cousin of Prince William. And his tragic death is somehow being connected to what is going on with Catherine and William. And while I won't get into details because I really don't want to perpetuate these ugly, nasty rumors, but it's just crazy how something that we know happened and we know the timeline of somehow is getting confused with the sad, tragic death of this man. And so we're going to talk about this today because social media is a great place to share news, share information. Of course, I get so much of my stuff from social media as well. But there is also a lot of stupidity on there. So we're going to talk a little bit about this today. But if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network, my name is Brittany. I provide you all compelling royal commentary about the latest news, sometimes some of the drama going on behind the scenes. So if you guys want to smash that subscribe button, that would be awesome. I'm hoping to get to 150,000 subscribers here very, very soon. That is my goal. The 2-year anniversary of this channel is next week, and I'm like so excited. So if you guys want to go ahead and click that, that would be awesome. And we've also confirmed our trip to Scotland. So if you're interested in going to Scottish Highlands with me and some other royal lovers, I'd love to have you come along. It's going to be a fantastic, wonderful, amazing trip. And we are going to be so busy. We're going to go to all these different places. So you'll get an incredible overview of the country. And then on the first day there, we may have some extra free time. So if people want to go to Holyrood House or any other places around Edinburgh, there will be time to do that. And we'll just try to do as many fun things as we can. Of course, we go to Edinburgh Castle, up to the Isle of Skye. Like really, guys, this is a fully encompassing trip of Scotland. So if you're interested in any of that, I will try to remember to put a link up above, and there will also be a link down below as well. Okay, guys, to this madness. This madness, I just keep seeing this going on, and like mainstream publications going, well, where is Kate Middleton? Where is Kate? Where is Catherine? We don't know where she is. And I'm like, they told us a month ago what was going on. Like, this should not be a surprise. So let's go back and say, so in January, we were told Catherine had abdominal surgery. And you could guess that this was probably a pretty invasive surgery and a pretty serious one as well. Now, we don't know the details of it. I'm not going to speculate there. But given, obviously, that she was going to have a long recovery time, you could guesstimate sort of a couple of these details. But somehow, as time has gone on, this has become magnified, and it's this grand mystery. Where is Catherine? But according to Kensington Palace, what they told us is that she will be back after Easter. Now, I'm really hoping we see her on Easter and she goes to Easter services at Windsor Castle at St. George's Chapel. But if she doesn't, guess what? We have at least 28 days until Easter. So she's not around yet, guys. This should not be rocket science.
This is like explaining gravity to a chicken.
I feel like I'm doing that a little bit. And I feel like other people are doing that too. Why do people want to see Catherine so badly? And I understand some people are like, well, we just love seeing her. Well, that's wonderful, but royals give up a lot of themselves. Catherine, just moments, it seemed like after giving birth, would walk out of the hospital having gotten all her makeup done and hair just to show off her child, go back inside and go home. I highly doubt Catherine really wanted to do that. But that's part of, I feel like, what I would consider a social contract between the public and the royals. Because if you are royalty, you get certain privileges. In exchange for that, you give certain things to the public. And I think that's important that, yes, they allow people into some what we would consider private aspects. I mean, almost all their work is done publicly in a way that ours isn't. I don't have 12 cameras following me around every day while I work. Now I do have this camera here, and I have, usually close to maybe 100,000 people, if not more, watching my videos. But I'm not walking around with a team of photographers capturing my every move and making sure every thing I say, every moment is perfectly scripted and you don't step a foot out of line. That's not a pressure really anybody deals with. And so I give Catherine massive kudos for what she does every single day. So I don't understand all of a sudden why people are just demanding to see her, because I've seen it on social media, especially on Twitter. It's like, well, we need to see her. Well, why isn't there any pictures? Why, like, they need to just give us pictures and images. And I'm like, but if you start doing that, where does it end? Because if you've never had surgery before, and I feel like so many people who are talking about this really haven't ever experienced a surgery or a procedure that really limits your mobility, because different surgeries have different impacts. Now, I've never had abdominal surgery, so I can't speak at all to the pain and the difficulty of that recovery. But what I can say is I broke my foot, and I broke my foot and I had to have a surgery on it. I technically shattered it, is what they said. And so I was on crutches from early December when I broke it and had surgery until at least mid-February, non-weight bearing. So every moment of my day, I had to keep my foot up and utilize crutches. That is hard. I couldn't really work necessarily a normal job. At the time, of course, I was about to graduate college, couldn't graduate at the time because I had this injury and I had the mobility issues and everything. So I was able to get sort of a family friend to give me a job for a little bit so I could make some money. But really, my life was very limited in some ways just because it was really difficult to get around. Like, you didn't want to, when you have crutches, when you can't move well, having to deal with all these people. Now, I was blessed that I could do that at the time because it's sort of timing-wise, you could say, almost worked out. But overall, it was difficult. I struggled to do everyday things. And it got to the point, obviously, I had some hardware in my foot. They took some of that out in February, and then I started, I think, being weight bearing after that. But then they realized too, oh, whoopsie doopsie, we should have put you in physical therapy because, oh my gosh, your toes are curling and your toes should not curl when you walk. So I had that. And so it just was a long, long process. And honestly, my foot will never be 100%. It's like 90%. At least once a day, maybe it feels a little stiff, a little frustrating, especially when I get up in the morning. And I will say too, I broke my wrist at a different time. So I had to have surgery, and I have actually more hardware in here than I do in my foot. And so I have like a plate of 8 or 9 screws here. And so I will say though, the wrist was very different because it didn't limit your mobility in the same way. So they started me, like, as soon as they took all the stitches and the pins out and everything. Oh boy, well, let me tell you right now, that was a story. They immediately had me doing occupational therapy because they needed to get my hand working well. And I would say my hand is like 98%. It still hurts if I write too much. Like, a couple of things every once in a while it aches, but it's really so much better than my foot is. And again, that comes to physical therapy versus occupational therapy, which are essentially the same thing. It just depends on what part of the body you're working on. But the whole thing is that mobility issues really do impact you in ways that you don't think. So if Catherine has had abdominal surgery, which we can assume was probably invasive because she needs so much time to recover, why in the world does she need to parade herself around to the internet trolls in order to get them to stop going, where is Kate Middleton? Because it's just even mainstream publications are going with this lunacy. And what has been absolutely tragic, maddening, aggravating, just so many things is how all of a sudden people are also conflating Catherine's situation with that of the death of Thomas Kingston. Thomas Kingston was the husband of Lady Gabriella Windsor. And what we have according to reports is that he passed away due to a traumatic injury caused by a gun. Now, obviously, you can make insinuations of what that means. There was no foul play involved. And so many people believe, and it seems very highly likely, although this word has not been specifically said, that he was responsible for his own demise. And I find that so incredibly tragic and horrific. Him and his wife, Gabrielle Windsor, seem to have a beautiful wedding. She is a beautiful bride. I always find her so incredibly lovely and fashionable. She has this classic English fashion. And I can't imagine the horror, the devastation of losing your husband like that, especially if it was something they just really weren't seeing come up. Obviously, we don't know all the details, and I don't really want to speculate too much as a way of respecting the family. I just don't want to go down that route. But some people on social media are really taking and twisting this and connecting him and Catherine and William, and essentially saying there was some sort of relationship bust up between the three of them when we don't even have any indication that anything other than a friendly relationship existed. I have seen a variety of just nasty stories of just things I don't even want to repeat because I don't really want to give them grounds. And so if you come across them on social media, you will know exactly what I'm saying. But the ugliness somehow of this is just startling to me. The man died. It was obviously tragic circumstances that deserve to be investigated, deserve to be discussed. Perhaps there's lessons people can learn in terms of what, the public knows as well. But I really feel like his family deserves absolute privacy and respect during this time. But somehow, some way, it has become conflated with this Catherine missing. And I just really want to say, she is fine. Recovering from surgery is fine. That is perfectly, completely acceptable. And I feel like it is just offensive that people just don't seem to want to understand or respect that. Anybody else, if there was a family member, friend, something like that, they would go, oh yeah, I understand. But somehow because it's Catherine, somehow because it's the Princess of Wales, we need to see her. Now, I will say, I think it would be lovely, absolutely lovely, if Kensington Palace, especially for Mother's Day next weekend, there was a picture they were able to release showing Catherine at home with the kids in the process of recovering. I think that would be awesome, or maybe even a picture before the surgery. But we don't know the particular circumstances around it, and I think that's fine. In this age of social media, I feel like people want to know all the nitty-gritty details. And I understand where we need to know some, but reels, they should have a modicum of privacy. If they don't want to share exactly what happened right now, perhaps it's a process Catherine's dealing with. Maybe her body will radically change after this. Maybe it's something that's very invasive and very personal, private, and she's just, rather upset about it, or just needs time to process the changes. Because going from having a perfectly physically fit body to having one that's injured that will never be the same, it's traumatic, it's hard, it's difficult, because you realize almost that you're more fragile than you think you are. And you realize these things that you thought were gonna be so easy are not anymore. Now, I have absolutely no plans to join the military, but I probably couldn't join the military anymore, which is probably perfectly fine. I would be terrible at it. But I probably couldn't join it because of the injuries that I have, because that is just too dangerous. I wouldn't be able to do physically the things I need to do. Your world in some ways contracts just slightly. I think about things differently. I'm more cautious. Like, I would love to wear heels every day, but I'm also terrified of falling and having like my screws or something pop out or like bust out of my skin. I know that's stupid. I know that won't happen. But literally, those are the things I think about in my mind, because your world is different. When you've had something that's come up suddenly, and I do think Catherine's thing was rather sudden because they had made plans, and so if they were expecting this surgery, they wouldn't have made those plans. And obviously there was time in December where the royal schedule really slows down that she could have had a procedure if she needed to. Obviously, it came up rather suddenly, and I know people were confused because it said planned. Well, planned could mean it was planned 3 days ago. My surgery was immediate in a way because obviously we weren't expecting it, but it was also planned because they had to wait a week for my foot to stop swelling. I actually had to go in immediately for my wrist for different reasons. But all this to say is that Catherine is probably having some time to recover and obviously reset, because this is going to be a change for her. I'm sure it's a change within the family, and I'm sure she has a different thought process about her body, struggling with different things. And so I don't fault her in the slightest for taking time off. Now, I will say I have criticized Catherine and William from time to time for not working quite as much as some of their peers. I think that criticism in some ways still stands, because yes, William can be at home taking care of Catherine, but they also have a lot of staff who can do that for them. I would guess they're probably not doing their own laundry, their own dishes. They can hire somebody to cook for them. So they can have a lot of things covered that most people cannot. So I think that does free William up more for work, so I would like to see him working a bit more. But at the same time, I understand too why he needs to maybe stay at home a bit more just to make sure everything is going well with her, and what they shouldn't have to deal with while dealing with not only Catherine having this surgery, but Charles having his surgery, discovering cancer. We also now have the tragic death of Thomas Kingston. What the palace, what the royals don't need is idiots on social media conflating the two situations and just creating these awful, horrific stories that have no basis in reality. But to be fair, also some people can say, I go and I talk about Harry and Meghan and I'm talking about all these things that aren't I as bad as what's being talked about with the Waleses and Thomas Kingston and Lady Gabriella. Well, no, because what I don't do is take wild rumors on social media and propagate them to you as fact. What I do is I read mainstream publications and I make conclusions myself based on what I know of the situation, having read about royals for a really long time, what I know basically about human behavior, because I'm a historian and I know that doesn't mean I'm a psychologist, but actually being a good historian, I think part of that is having a good understanding of human nature, because not only are you trying to understand events, everything is pretty much caused by human behavior. So if you know human behavior, if you know what a particular human, what their motivations are and those sorts of things, you can kind of read into what they're doing. So what I always do, guys, is I always try to go off of what are mainstream reports, what I know, and what we can probably suppose based on the facts that we've been given over time. I don't go down, obviously, if you've watched my channel for a long time, I don't like the surrogacy rumors. I hate when people start going on about how they rented the kids and stuff like that. I think all that is equally as silly. But I think the stuff with Thomas Kingston is even a level above that. It's something I've never really seen. Again, I don't even feel comfortable repeating it because it is such an ugly, nasty thing to say, especially thinking of this poor woman who has lost her husband, this poor family who has lost their brother, lost their son, lost their uncle, and really need time to grieve. They don't need trolls on social media trying to generate and trying to plug the black hole that is lack of information on Catherine. Because guess what, guys? There are so many other royals you can follow. Yes, Catherine is not there, but we have Queen Mary, who actually looks a lot like Catherine. We have Crown Princess Victoria of Sweden. Queen Mary is obviously Queen of Denmark. We have Crown Princess Mette-Marit of Norway. We have Queen Maxima of the Netherlands, Queen Letizia of Spain, Queen Matilda of the Belgians. We have young princesses like Princess Elizabeth, Princess Catherine Amalia, just so many young royals out there. I just don't see the need why everybody should focus so much on Catherine when there are other young royals out there as well. She needs this time to recover. I really want her to have it without people making wild speculation and theories. Now, obviously, people have also argued that shouldn't we deserve to know a bit more? And I understand that to a certain extent. My natural human curiosity, I want to know too. But you know what? You don't get on a soapbox in your office and tell everybody your intimate details and medical history, and I don't think Catherine should have to either. I think she should recover at home. I cannot wait to see her again. I'm really hoping that it'll just be later this month at Easter, which is the 31st. So guys, prayers out to Catherine, prayers out to the Kingston family, guys, and the Kents. Obviously, this is a horrible, tragic event, and I hope that they are able to recover, and I just wish that people would stop with the stupidity, especially mainstream publications. Vogue, I think was Harper's Bazaar. Come on, guys. We all know where Catherine is. We're not expecting her until March 31st at the earliest, and Kensington Palace has already told this, and they even had to come out with another statement saying that our information in the timeline has not changed. So people need to stop speculating. Try moving on to something else. So guys, let me know what you think of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.